Welcome to our deep dive into one of Europe's most unique and contested borders, the boundary between Spain and Morocco. The territories of Ceuta and Melilla, located in North Africa, have been the best sites of intense geopolitical conflict, cultural division, and significant migration pressure. The immense Spanish influence has led to a subdivision of Spanish culture and North African, as people within the enclave speak Spanish and use euros. But what's the real story behind this border? Why does it matter? Let's explore.
At first glance, the boundary between Morocco and Spain's North African exclaves, Ceuta and Melilla, might seem like just a geographical division, but these borders are deeply shaped by history. Both Ceuta and Melilla were established as colonies during the age of European imperialism, when Spain, like many European powers, expanded its reach into Africa. These exclaves remain under Spain's control today, despite being entirely surrounded by Morocco, a clear reminder of the colonial era. The historical foundation of these territories is key to understanding why these disputes are so intense today. These are not just any borders, they are remnants of imperialism, and they carry the legacy of colonial powers claiming lands far from their shores. The majority of Africa was divided among multiple European powers, causing many lasting effects of European culture within Africa. As many different exclaves in Africa include different elements of European culture, such as cultural customs or language. The colonial boundaries drawn up without regards to local people or geography still shape diplomatic relations today, and they contribute to the territorial dispute that persists between Spain and Morocco. To secure these far-flung territories, Spain has constructed fortified boundaries around Ceuta and Melilla. Tall fences, security cameras, and watchtowers make this some of the most heavily monitored and guarded borders in Europe. These physical boundaries are meant to prevent unauthorized crossings into the European Union, with migrants often attempting to scale the walls in hopes of entering Spain. These migrants are often from sub-Saharan Africa, and they are facing a variety of centrifugal forces, such as war or religious persecution. Spain has a variety of centripetal forces that cause migrants want to enter illegally. The most important of these centripetal forces is safety from violence in many of these migrants' home countries. These migrants believe that their only way to safety is to cross the border into Europe. Spain's focus on fortified boundaries reflects both the strategic importance of Ceuta and Melilla and the growing migration pressures in Europe. As exclaves, these territories are detached from mainland Spain, but they are still considered part of the European Union. Their proximity to Morocco makes them a prime target for migrants seeking better opportunities in Europe. The fortified borders act as a physical barrier to prevent these migrants' flow. The fortified boundaries also symbolize the territoriality over these areas. Spain believes that these areas are theirs and they must maintain control. If Spain were to become less territorial and made a deal with Morocco to turn over Ceuta and Melilla to become Moroccan territories, then the migrant crisis would be less of a problem, as it would be much more difficult for migrants to cross illegally into Spain.
The border between Ceuta and Melilla also represents a cultural boundary, separating distinct cultural and linguistic groups. While Morocco is predominantly Arabic-speaking and Muslim, Spain's enclaves are home to Spanish-speaking Christians. This cultural divide is not just about language, but also about deep-rooted historical identities that continue to shape attitudes on both sides of the border. These cultural differences highlight the core periphery dynamic at play. Spain represents the core, a European country with a high standard of living, while Morocco, representing the periphery, faces economic and social challenges. The cultural boundary emphasizes the nationalism on both sides. Morocco sees these territories as an extension of its national identity, while Spain views Ceuta and Melilla as integral parts of its sovereignty. The centuries ruling of Muslims in Spain, known as Al-Andalus, which was then followed by the Spanish Reconquista, expulsion of Muslims in Spain, leaving a legacy of religious and political tensions, defines the start of the cultural differences between Spain and Morocco. The geopolitical significance of Ceuta and Melilla cannot be overstated. They are located at the junction of Africa and Europe, making them crucial frontiers of the European Union. As Spain's territories, they serve as the external borders of the EU, meaning any migrant trying to reach Europe must first pass through these Spanish exclaves. Ceuta and Melilla's location is central to Spain's geopolitical interest. Being the frontier between Europe and Africa means that the border is not only a physical one, but also a cultural and political divide. For Morocco, the presence of Spanish territories on its soil is a point of sovereignty contention, leading to a long-standing geopolitical dispute where Morocco claims sovereignty over these cities. The fact that Ceuta and Melilla are also EU territories means that they are subject to EU policies on immigration, complicating both Spain's domestic policies and its relations with Morocco.
The status of Ceuta and Melilla has long been a source of territorial disputes. Morocco continues to assert that these territories are rightfully a part of its sovereign land, leading to ongoing diplomatic political tensions. The situation is complicated further by accusations and disputes such as disagreements over shared maritime sources and operational disputes like customs and immigration policies. These territorial disputes are about more than just the land. They touch on the issues of sovereignty and territorial. For Morocco, they desire to reclaim Ceuta and Melilla is tied to its national pride and historical grievances. For Spain, these territories are non-negotiable, central to its sense of national integrity. The operational disputes over issues like immigration, further political negotiations as both countries seek to control on how their borders are managed. Due to immense influence that Spain holds in Morocco and Cave, the territorial disputes are culturally influenced. Many people in Cave speak Spanish and use euros as a form of currency. They live in similar to those in Spain, but they sense they are a part of Morocco. Morocco considers that the Cave part of their own.
Although Spain's territories are fragmented, they are compact in shape, which makes administration easier despite the physical distance from mainland Spain. Morocco, on the other hand, can be viewed as a perforated state, with Spanish exclaves cutting into its territorial integrity. The geographic separation of Ceuta and Melilla from mainland Spain highlights the fragmentation of Spain's territorial control. While this presents logistical challenges, it also emphasizes the strategic importance of these exclaves in terms of geopolitics. For Morocco, these Spanish territories are a perforation of its territorial continuity, intensifying the dispute over sovereignty and control. Although these territories are within Morocco, Spain's irredentist position continues to believe that the territories are theirs due to the majority of the population being influenced by Spanish culture. In the end, the border between Ceuta and Melilla is about more than geography, it's about sovereignty, Spain's right to maintain control over these exclaves and Morocco's claim to their lands. Both nations are locked in a struggle defined by nationalism, with each side unwilling to concede the other's control. Nationalism is at the heart of this dispute. For Morocco, the presence of Spanish territories on African soil represents a legacy of colonialism that is difficult to accept. For Spain, these territories are integral to its national identity, and giving them up would be seen as a loss of sovereignty. The result is a prolonged conflict rooted not just in the borders themselves, but what they symbolize for both nations. The people within the exclave express a sense of nationalism and pride towards Spain, which then makes the dispute even more complex, as even though the nationalistic attitude of the exclave favors Spain, Morocco expresses their desire to keep the exclave as a part of their nation.